Hi, on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. Thousands of people around the world follow us because we are working into raising the level of consciousness in the planet, sharing information actually that can help raise the level of consciousness in the planet. Today we are being joined by Nicholas Policarpio. Nicholas is a sales executive, he is a life coach, and the space that we're going to be having with him today is called Journey from the Ego into the Soul. I'm not going to delay this any further. I'm going to leave you with Nicholas right now. Nicholas, welcome to Mindalia. The screen is all yours. We are ready to learn what you came to teach us today.
Beautiful. Thanks for the introduction, Mirna. I'm super excited to be here with you guys. Let me thank yourself first, Mirna, for being with me in this journey. And thanks again for all the family at Mindalia for giving me this incredible opportunity. This incredible opportunity to be with you for a second time and share some of my experience in this beautiful space. And thanks everyone on the other side of the screen who is watching and who are listening to us. So thanks everyone. Now, today I wanted to invite you with me into this journey. It will be a journey from the ego into the soul, from our mind into our heart. It will be a journey from being somebody into becoming nobody. The ego, it's like an illusion, a very influential illusion. And no one has ever seen its face. No one has ever touched it. It's like a ghost that is controlling our lives. It's a caricature, but it's not you. It's just an illusion where we get trapped. I am what I have. I am what I do. I am what other people think I am. The identification with these thoughts is the ego. An all-embracing illusion we brought from childhood that is limiting our infinite potential. A fictitious identity created by the mind. Now, when you were born as spirit. You were born as infinite field of energy and awareness. You were born with unlimited potential. But as soon as you grow up then, you start obscuring your being. You start obscuring your essence, which is already complete, beautiful, and perfect. And you start obscuring it with a set of identities, behaviors, beliefs that you're just unconsciously absorbing from your parents, from the environment, or from the society. And I say unconsciously because when you were a kid, you're not consciously picking up which values and beliefs and behaviors you want in life. You were just observing and absorbing everything around you. So from this being complete and peaceful, you start collecting concepts, points of views, wishes, desires, and you create a separate self that is obscuring your real self. So from this field of unlimited and infinite potential, you start becoming super limited. You start filtering and editing your life based on what you've collected. And you start what I call your tunnel life, your tunnel thoughts, your tunnel beliefs and your tunnel identities. And from infinite, you become finite. And you create this separate self. So you divide yourself into two, and you abandon and move away from your being and obscure it with someone else's beliefs, someone else's thoughts and identities. So you start saying things like, I am this type of person, so I cannot be different than that. I know this, I have studied this, so I won't be able to do the other one. I believe in this and that, so I cannot believe on the rest. And you start limiting yourself. And you wear these masks, and you believe you are that mask. So you start building up a story about your life. And in that story, you get trapped. Now, this is the basis of the ego. Now, I'm wondering, why does this happen? Why do we create this separate self if we were born already perfect beings? And in my opinion, this happens mainly because our society promotes this addiction around becoming somebody. Everyone needs to become somebody, apparently. That's what the society wants. They want us to wear fictitious masks and identities and disconnect from our true nature. Because if we were fully connected with our being, we will be completely free. We will be completely free from any matrix that the society is giving us. And maybe we will be too free for them. And maybe the society does not really want us to be totally free, as you might have seen this year with COVID. But that's another story. So what happens is that when you're born, it's like if you get into the somebody training, you start your journey into becoming somebody. So you go to school, you get an education to become somebody. Your parents want you to become somebody as well. So you start accumulating different identities and masks based on what you have collected, mainly from your family, your society, and the environment. And you start building a story around your being. So you walk on the street and you think you are somebody. You think you know who you are because you dress like somebody. Your face looks like somebody as well. And you notice that everyone around you is also busy being somebody. So we start seeing others as separate from ourselves in terms of what they have, how they look, how they dress. And we notice that everybody has a deep sense of somebodyness. This is what our society promotes. Our culture is mask driven, identities driven. So you start with the job. You start building a social role and wear a specific mask and a specific suit. But at some point, you realize that that job, that mask that you've been wearing, it's not comfortable anymore. and doesn't make you happy. So you wear a different mask, you start a different job, until you realize that you don't feel comfortable with that mask either. So you keep readjusting yourself and readjusting yourself until you feel that maybe there is something deeper than our accumulated identities. Maybe there is something beyond our ego and our conditioned mind. And hey, don't get me wrong, the mind is a fantastic tool. The mind is a wonderful tool. The problem comes when you look for yourself in it. When you're trying to look for yourself in objects, thoughts, or identities, that's when the mind becomes an egoic mind. Because the ego derives its sense of self from things, status, cultures, and stories. It's like a screen of mental conditioning through which you see and act on the world. So you try to find yourself in things, and it first becomes my car, my house, my clothes. But you never quite make it. Seems like you're never able to find yourself in them. And you keep looking and looking, and you keep having more and more, and you end up losing yourself in them. And in this mental chaos, you start building a relationship of codependency with the external world. You start setting impossible conditions for your feelings of joy and happiness. So you say things like, only if I will achieve this job, I will then be happy. Only if I get this house, I will then be happy. And you keep looking and looking, and it's an endless quest. So you start living at the mercy of the external world. You start giving up your own power and putting it into something else or someone else's hands. And you might even start blaming others or external circumstances, and you create this victim state that gives a pretty satisfying sense of identity to your ego. Or on the other side, you can identify yourself as well with the one who is victorious in the world, the one who is achieving a lot of things, the one who feels strong and powerful. Because the ego does not mind which identity you take. They're both equally strong and false. Because usually people think about the ego as someone who feels stronger or better than someone else. But also people who have a self-image of being a victim have a strong ego identity. For many people, their main sense of egoic identity is unhappiness. And they're just looking for the next thing to feel even more unhappy, or to complain, or to be angry at. So you keep looking for yourself in forms and things related to the external world. And you start attaining new identities. You start achieving things. You have a beautiful house. You have a beautiful car. You have a fantastic job. But it feels like it's never enough. So you start sensing a feeling of never being fully satisfied. It looks like you never feel complete. you always have your ego in the background saying, I don't have enough yet. I'm not enough yet. Because the ego tends to equate having with being. The ego tells you, I have, therefore I am. And the more I have, the more I am. So it's constantly needing and asking you for more and more in this deceiving path to fulfillment. And it's always making you look for the next thing in order to be happy, for the next thing in order to feel complete. And usually, the only thing you are rejecting, the only thing the ego is escaping from is the present moment. Our dear and lovely present moment. Because the ego cannot exist in the present moment. The ego operates in the past and it's future oriented. That's why it's always trying to escape from the present moment. The ego could be defined simply as a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment. That sense of unease, boredom, dissatisfaction with the present moment, with the present state of your life, which ego is always trying to change or resist. So you start saying, I'm here, but I would love to be there. I have this, but I would love to have that. That's the ego resistance to the present moment. The ego resistance to life. The ego does not trust the present moment. The ego does not trust the universe. It's only trusting itself. And it sees life, it sees presence as an obstacle, an enemy. That's why it's always trying to manipulate the present moment. Now you will be wondering, right, what do we do then? And yes, our dear present moment is always the answer. Our dear present moment is the antidote to freeing yourself up from the ego. The ego and your mind exist in time. They cannot operate in the present moment. They just can't. Because the ego was born out of those past stories, thoughts, and events that existed in time. So the ego was born out of the past and it's future oriented and will always bring you away from presence and from life. So the next step in human evolution is awakening. Awakening from the psychological structure, from the psychological prison, from the psychological drama that we have created for ourselves. Because so far we have only played on the surface level, which is the level of the mind, the level of the thoughts. So it's now time to elevate ourselves to another dimension, which is the dimension where we all came from. It's the dimension of the creator and the creation. It's the source of everything, which is consciousness, which is awareness, which is presence. So all there is required to become free from the ego is to be aware of it. Awareness and ego are not compatible. Ego only operates unconsciously. So being aware of it will peel your ego off. And awareness is the power that is concealed within the present moment. You are awareness. Your being that you've been abandoned is that awareness that you are escaping from. You are the one who is aware of those thoughts. You are the one who is aware of your emotions. So regaining connection to your real self, cultivating your pure awareness, your presence, is how we go beyond the ego. So start observing whenever you catch yourself being trapped into mind-made games, which are creating unnecessary negative narrative. And when you become the watcher, the observer, you see clearly the dysfunction of that voice in your mind that is causing suffering. When you can start observing your egoic construct, you are beginning to go beyond it. And you start detaching yourself from your mind. And when you detect an egoic mental pattern going on here, do not take it too seriously. Just smile at them, make fun of them. Your mind will not like that you're making fun of those bollocks thoughts that you're having, because your mind is realizing that you're finally aware of your thoughts. And watch out, because watching and observing your mind does not mean that you go against it or resist it. The ego is not an enemy. The ego is not an enemy. If you have been successful so far on what you've done and what you've achieved, it's to some extent thanks to the ego as well. So we don't have to reject the ego. We don't have to fight it. Because we need to wear masks. We need to wear identities to live in the world and to play by the worldly rules. You just need to become aware of it. You just need to become aware of your ego patterns and use them in your favor. Your ego needs to start taking instructions from you. So watch those masks that you've been wearing and use them whenever it's necessary. So the ego is not the problem. The problem comes when you believe you are those masks, when you believe you are those egoic identities. So you must get rid of the illusion of who you are, not of the ego. And the problem comes when you've only played and known the egoic and mental dimension of this life, and you haven't explored a deeper dimension, which is presence, which is the formless dimension. And it's the dimension of your soul. So you need to build a relationship both with your ego as well as with your soul. You need to play with your mental and psychological dimension. And you need to connect to the dimension of presence, to the dimension of your heart on a daily basis, so that you can balance the two. And by connecting to your soul, to your presence, you will get in touch with the artist within yourself, with your creative genius. So you need to have developed a relationship both with your ego, with the form, as well as with the formless, your awareness, your soul. Because at the end of the day, the game is not really about becoming somebody. The game is about becoming nobody. The game is about getting out of your suit, getting out of that mask that felt extremely limiting. And as you free yourself from your somebodyness, from your personality, you start experiencing a place in the world where your being, where your sense of I am is enough to feel whole and complete. You find a place of stillness and silence where you become the witness of your story, the witness of your life, and you start observing yourself. You're finally a spirit having a human experience. And you realize that your deeper sense of self, your deeper sense of who you are, does not depend on what your mind has been telling you so far. Because you are the user of your brain, but not your brain. You are the traveler in a body, but not your body. You are the thinker of your thoughts, but not your thoughts. I love you guys. Thanks for this. Mirna, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Nicholas, for sharing with us your time, for sharing with us your knowledge. It has been a true pleasure.
I hope so.
Yes, it has been. There are questions that, of course, arise after
Good.
hearing you. If you ask me, the way I see it is, it's like a married couple. They need to go to counseling, ego and spirit, right? And when they
Yes.
need to root for each other. It, as you said, I love when you say that they are not enemies. We are not enemies with none of the parts that are, that build us. We have a question here.
I loved your analogy, by the way. You should be sitting here next time and give the talk.
Thank you. Thank you. There are, well, someone in YouTube, I'm not sure because they didn't identify themselves. We are two inside, and it's the hardest to understand this. Nothing external will give us what we need. And by two, I mean ego, and I mean, and then parentheses, physical and mind, and God and spirit. Everything is within us. So if I piggyback right on said comment, we live on a society that it's minded towards have, get more, consume, be in a certain way, like you need to look as a certain model or a certain stereotype. How can we open ourselves when we have this, when we're craving something different? What would you think is the starting pack of someone that wants to leave that life behind?
Beautiful. Thanks for this question from this unknown user. Hey, I'll tell you a bit about my experience because everything that I've shared so far came from what I've learned from my past, and I'll answer the question by giving you some sharing about my past. So I've been living a pretty mind-driven and ego-driven kind of life. As you know, I've worked on the corporate environment, and specifically, I've worked in sales. And in sales, you live by your mask, you live by your identities. Everyone is living wearing different identities as mask, and you need to have a strong ego to survive. And again, that's not the problem. The problem was that I was fully identified with my ego. I was wearing my salesman mask. I was identified with my clothes, with my shirts, with my jacket. But I've never really felt too comfortable with that suit and with that mask. And I was realizing that I was getting promotions, I was getting another promotions, and then hitting the target and hitting my target again. And I was constantly needing for more and craving for more. I was closing a deal today. I was maybe content and happy for a few minutes. And then the ego was back and say, come on, man, give me more, give me more. And let me explain you that egoic pattern. The ego will always want to extend its territory of identities. So if you have achieved this, this, and that, the ego will always want another one, another piece of cake, and then another piece of the cake. Because the ego will never be satisfied with the little territory that he has gained on you. So that craving, that sense of dissatisfaction is one of the main egoic pattern. Now, how do we deal with it? The way I dealt with it, and the lockdown y el confinamiento helped me quite a lot, because the lockdown basically decreased the intensity of my work, decreased the intensity of my mental activity, and finally gave me the opportunity to connect and to open the doors to my real self, above and beyond my egoic mind. So a practical example that I want to give you is my day-to-day life before was the following. I was waking up, little meditation session, little training session, but from 9 to 7, I was mainly living by my mind and my thoughts. I was rushing from a place to another, from a thought to another. So I was constantly driven by my past, and I was only future oriented. It's like if I had lived with my head under the water and detaching myself from life, which is presence. So 80% of my day-to-day life was occupied by thoughts and mind. Then the COVID came, lockdown came, and I saw a shift in my day-to-day life, because before my mind was occupying 80% of my day-to-day life. Now it maybe occupies 30, 40% when I'm proactively doing something, because I've balanced the compulsive thinker and compulsive doing dimension with pure being. So I've started connecting to presence. And connecting to presence means, Mirna, if you are watching me and listening me fully, you are in presence, because there are no thoughts going on in your mind at the moment. If people out there are fully, están prestando atención fully a lo que digo and what I'm saying, that's a level of presence. You can achieve presence with your eyes open, watching a tree, engaging with nature, or engaging in a conversation where you are fully listening.
But we're never there. We're always somewhere else. We're eating and we're somewhere else.
I know. Now, el puente, the bridge that is going to help you anchor yourself to the present moment, and it's the most basic one, and the first step I would start from is your breath. Your breath is the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious. Is the only life energy that keeps you alive that you can control. You have two life energies that keep you alive: your heart and your breath. If your heart stops breathing, you're gone. If you stop breathing, you're gone. Obviously, we cannot control our heart yet. We can only control our breath. So the only and very basic exercise of closing your eyes and just focus on your breath, that will anchor you to the present moment. Then obviously you tell me, okay, I start meditating, and guys, let's demystify meditation. You don't have to go cross legs in a sofa. You can meditate standing up, you can meditate sitting, we can meditate together now. So forget about the image of the yogi
What we've been
meditator.
told about meditation, it doesn't need to be like that. We can be
Exactly,
doing our
exactly.
dishes and still doing meditation.
Exactly. Thanks, Mira. So you will sit there and you will start focusing on your breath. And at some point, there will be the ocean. The ocean of your mind and thoughts will start coming to you because they want to grab you away from the present moment. And they will tell you, Mirna, what the hell are you doing there sitting? Mirna, go back to work. Go back to do your things. And you start this exercise of just letting them pass by one time, two times, day one, day two. And your mind at some point will realize, fuck, I'm losing power over this guy. I'm losing my control over this guy. This guy is preferring presence over me. So that's the exercise. Day one, it will be an ocean of thoughts. Just let them go. Day two, day three, day four, the ocean of thoughts will be less heavy, less intense, because your mind is realizing, this guy is getting in love with presence. That's how you start building the connection with your being. And at some point, the mere act of breathing will make you the happiest person in the world. And I want to stop there because I could go on forever, but I'll welcome other questions.
And we could listen to you forever. Nicholas, as we grow in this path, it starts getting lonely as you are no longer so worried about the handbag, about the shoes, about the appearances. It starts getting lonely because you're not going to be on everybody else's wavelength, on the same I wouldn't say different dimensions. We are not longer belonging to where we used to belong. How would you handle that? What's your approach on that, the change of our pack, I would like to say it, or our tribe?
I love that. Look, I would say the easiest thing, the way I started was, first of all, by rodearme, ¿cómo se dice? By surrounding myself with books that talk about this new dimension that we wanna embrace. Maybe you wanna have a guru, but this guru potentially could be Eckhart Tolle or Sadhguru, which you cannot really meet up with. So the first step I started with was surrounding myself with books and then starting to open up to a more awakened tribe. Guys, there are so many people. We are all on this journey. Some of us at a stage 1, some of us stage 2, some of us stage 3. But you will encounter millions of people at each stage of your spiritual awakening. And the more you awake, the more you realize that, hey, this thing over here, this is not just one. Are you aware of the thousands of processes and systems that are going on inside here? So at some point you realize that it's not that you are alone. You are with thousands of yourselves all the time, because you've got a breath, you've got a heart, you've got an energy, you've got a mind, you've got emotions, you've got a penis, you've got everything within yourself, which is constantly running your life, but you have never paid attention to it because you have only paid attention to everyone and everything around yourself, but yourself.
That's really cool to hear. And being the bearer of good news, we start the manifestation of new circles, social circles. As you grow, people on the same wavelength start just appearing out of nowhere. At least it happened to me like that.
Yes. Gifts from the universe start coming to you.
Yes. let's take a look at let's see, as we grow into being and not only having, where do you see us going, professionally speaking? Like the foundation of the society we live in right now, it is, as we said earlier, based on profit. We don't want to stop making money. We don't want to stop just profiting. That's still great, but the question is, because you are part of both worlds, you
Yes.
have a very conscious mind, you have awakened in a way, and you are in your path to growth and spirituality, but you still belong to the corporate world. So where do you see us? If I wanted to, like, a little bit of a sci-fi situation, where do you think we're going?
I love this question. Whenever I'm being asked questions about the corporate world, I've been there, I'm still there, so I love them. So I want to tell you a few things, and I'll try to be as quick as possible, even though I'm not really sometimes usually able to be very quick in my in my summary. So the first thing I wanted to demystify, guys, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, does not mean that you do not talk about money, right? Money is a fantastic tool to generate and expand your purpose and your heart. Because I hear, I collaborate with a lot of fantastic coaches and healers, and some of them, they just don't address the topic of money. Money is an area of your life. As much as work, nutrition, food, love is another area of your life, money is exactly the same. So please, as much as you look at your nutrition, your health, your fitness, your love, your relationship, look at money as well. Obviously, we're not talking about the money will never be the objective. Money is a consequence, is a result of your conscious emprendimiento, entrepreneurship. This is key. If you're not doing everything that you're doing for money, but money is just a natural byproduct, a natural consequence of what you're doing, you won the lottery. So this is beso.
You don't have to stop suddenly, but yes, we reached the end of our conversation, and I want you to give us your closing thoughts, because time is precious. As us, of course.
My closing thoughts. Look, I'm I don't know what to say. I'm just extremely happy to have met you guys at Mindalia. A month ago, Dolores reached out to me. I didn't even know you guys. So I'm like, who are these people? And then I've watched what you do. I've watched the people you work with. So for me, it's an honor to be here with you, Mirna. Last time with John. The audience that you have is just spectacular. So guys, I love you. I love you.
It is reciprocal. Thank you for sharing with us your time, your knowledge. We have to leave, but before leaving, as always, I just want to remind the people that are with us. Mindalia is an international nonprofit organization. Our mission is to share information that can help us raise the level of consciousness in the planet. You can help us, leaving us a positive comment, giving us a like, sharing our content. You can even donate in our website, www.mindalia.com, because when you are doing that, as I said previously, you're helping us reach as much people in the planet as possible. You're also helping us develop more content, like what we just had with Nicholas Policarpio. It was a wonderful talk, and I'm just gonna say goodbye now with gratitude as always until our next Mindalia live streaming. See you soon.